extra time now, surely.
Flamingo! It is 2-0, and that now surely seals the K-League title for Jumpo Fc Motors.
You're listening to the K-League United podcast, proud partner of Football Nation Radio.
Hello, I'm Annyeonghaseyo. For the first time in 2022, I'm your host, Ryan Walters, in the K-League United bunker, the new rebranded K-League United bunker. I am joined by Matthew Binns and a celebrity in Michael Redmond. You kept that one under the radar, buddy.
I've been biting my tongue for the last month, yes.
For those of you listening to the podcast or just tuning in now live, thank you first and foremost. But secondly, if you're listening to the podcast and you didn't see the official K-League 2 video that features our own Michael Redmond very prominently as well.
It was a wild day, and as I just said before, it was a month of biting my lip and just not telling anybody what was going on. So I'm glad it's out now finally.
Yeah, and it's a great video. It's super fun. Everybody's ready for the party that is K-League 2. If you haven't seen the video yet, go ahead and rewind this if you're watching, or check it out on social. But that is what we are here to talk about. We are excited for the beginning of the season, and as the intro almost always mentions, we did manage to go a year without it last year. But Matthew Binns of the reigning champion, Jumbo Hyundai Motors, is here as well. Matthew, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you? It's been a while.
It's been a bit. And I will say, I'm just happy you are here because I was with you for we'll call it a preseason injury.
Yeah. I had a preseason injury, criminally underreported by the Korean football media, as all injuries are in this country. But yeah, I enjoyed quarantine, and first trip out was for a pie and a pint, and what could possibly go wrong? But yeah, managed to choke on the pie, scalding hot pie. I'm licked myself, and I was on liquids for just over a week, and nearly derailed this whole podcast because you wouldn't have had these sultry nasal tones that our listeners have come to love so much.
They would have had to have dealt with my nasally tones, and one set of nasally tones isn't enough. But anyway, let's get into this. Let's get into why we're here, which again is to preview both K-League 1 and K-League 2. And as always, we're doing first is best. We're going to be starting with K-League 2, and we're switching things up slightly this year. We will be doing a little bit of a team-by-team preview, but instead of the 2 minutes per team and going through, we've broken them down into categories. So in K-League 2 this year, we have what we're calling the unpredictables. You can't really say that the bottom teams because you never really know who's going to be a bottom team in K-League 2. So we've got the unpredictables, the playoff contenders, and the playoffs are going to be a little bit different this year. We will go into that later. And then we have the title contenders. So that's who we'll be talking about in K-League 2. In K-League 1, we're going to be talking about Final B and the relegation battle down there. We'll be talking about the fight for Final A, the teams that will be fighting for the top half. And then we'll be talking about ACL and title contenders all at once, because if we're talking about title contenders, then that's just Matthew's segment again and again. So that's how we're going to be breaking things down. And for each team, we're going to talk about what happened last year. We're going to talk a little bit about their transfer business. We're not going into too much detail there. You can find that information online. We'll be talking about a difference maker. And then we're going to be talking about why we put them here in the rankings and looking into the crystal ball and making bold predictions, as we always do, and as are always correct. So I'm very curious to see. We haven't swapped notes yet. I'm curious to see where you guys have teams. And I should also mention that our own Jung Muyol is hanging out in the green room right now. He'll be joining us for the K-League 1 segment after Michael imparts his famous opinion upon us for K-League 2 here. But before we can get any of that, Matthew, there is a lot going on the interwebs that folks can get caught up with this week if they would like.
Yeah, there are pieces out on kleague.com and K-League United. We have K-League 1 and 2 derbies and when they're happening, and that's on kleague.com, as well as a team-by-team guide for the season ahead. There's also league-wide previews coming in the following days. Patreon articles. There are a number of articles on the Rising Stars in 2022, and there's also a piece on the under-22s that are going to start this season, we hope. And also who we think are going to be the starting goalkeepers in K-League 1. There's also a piece called The In-Betweeners, named after an acclaimed series that didn't make it to 5 series. So our podcast is currently out doing that one at the moment.
Hey.
And we have K-League Survivor. It's back for another season. You can join if you're in the $1 tier on our Patreon. And you can also follow K Survivor at K_Survivor on Twitter, and that will also give you all the latest updates of who's winning, who's staying in there, and who has lost all their lives, which will probably be me in 3 weeks' time.
It won't be Michael. Michael stuck around forever last year. The game is to just pick a team that won't lose. And Michael, I think you were there until the very end, and then you lost 3 in a row.
Yeah, I was the only one undefeated for a long stretch of time, and then I lost all 3 in 3 weeks. So, it doesn't matter how good you are to start. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
That's right. And with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started with this. Let's put our first team on the clock. It is the new boys to K-League 2 who didn't technically earn it through promotion, but they did finish top of K3 last year, and they've joined K-League 2. It's Gimpo Fc.
Yeah, Gimpo FC. Last year they got promoted, sort of, and while making their intentions known of their desire to be in K-League 2 this season, they also then went on to win the K3 League in case anybody needed convincing of their credentials. Also, their first ever piece of league silverware. Throughout the season, they finished second in league play, winning 14, drawing 10, and losing 4, scoring 35 in the process and conceding 20. They then beat Mokpo and Cheonan in the playoffs to claim the title. Obviously, there's no promotion relegation in place between the leagues yet, but it will be interesting to see how they fare against the next tier of opposition and give us a further glance of how far these sides are from the professional teams. So in terms of transfer business, then they've been a bit busy bulking out the side. They've brought in Mitsuru Marako from BG Pathum United. He signed on a free. The 26-year-old attacking midfielder joins after leaving the Thai League side in the summer after 12 months. He was previously on loan at Cerezo Osaka, not on loan, but previously on Cerezo Osaka's books, but mostly got his playing time on loan at the likes of Borussia Dortmund's second side, also Viva and Nagasaki, and Renan Yamaguchi. His minutes have mostly came in the lower tiers of Japan, it should be said. They also have brought in Han Jong-woo from Dundalk FC. He moved to Ireland from Suwon FC at the start of 2021 with caps at the under 18 and under 22 national team level. He played 14 times in Ireland, starting 6 and amounting just shy of 500 minutes. But he was more involved helping get Suwon FC promoted back in 2020. The 23-year-old also has a lot of time on his side and is going to likely be a regular for a Gimpo team that is hoping to build. They've also brought in Gubon Sang from Daejeon, So Gyeongju from Daegu, and they've got Park Jun-hye from Bucheon. So they've brought in quite a number of players there, but their difference maker, I think it's going to be Yang Junav, another player they've brought in from Police Tero. He's a defensive midfielder, and he moved to Police Tero from Incheon United. He's also had stints at Jongnan Dragons, at Jeju United, and Suwon Blue Wings, where he started out, and he's got a wealth of K-League 1 experience. Yes, Jongnan were in K-League 1. But yes, Yang could prove crucial to ensuring this side doesn't get overawed by their K-League 2 opponents. Why did we put them here at the beginning of the rundown? Well, we hardly know anything about them. Sure, they were successful in K3 League last year, but there's been some notable movement in transfers, and these are 12 new teams they're yet to regularly face. Their website still doesn't have any player info, nor have they released any squad numbers on their social media as per other clubs. But I've predicted them for 9th, because why not?
Oh, okay. Well, why not? All right, I like that. Michael, do you happen to have your full list of K-League 2 predictions? Where do you have Gimpo?
I have them at the foot of the table. Now it is 11th. I have put them in last place. But do you know what? To be fair, if you look at Gimpo, they have brought in some players, some recognisable players.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. I personally hope. Well, I hope they don't do well against Seoul. I hope they do well because then it will show that the K3 and K4 isn't a stone's throw away from the K1 and the K2. I just think maybe we're in the big boys league now, really going into the K League 2, and they might need a few seasons to get to tweak and get into the scheme of things. But let's take Seoul Elan for an example. In their first season, they actually got into the playoffs. So anything can be done with Gimpo, a team we're not quite aware of. They might have no pressure. They'll just go and play football and see what happens.
I mean, they don't have Ju Min-kyu lining up for them like you guys did back when, but that was a big difference maker. I also have them at the bottom of the table just because I couldn't figure out who to put below them because, as Matthew said, a lot of unknowns with Gimpo FC right now. I could definitely see them finishing above a couple of teams. But one team that has been down at the foot of the table and a team that is hoping to get off of the foot of the table and one that had a pretty good transfer window, in my opinion, is Bucheon FC 1995. And Michael, what happened with them last year?
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a disaster for Bucheon, to be honest. Saying it nicely or bluntly. Depends where you want to take it. They finished in last place. However you say last place, it was level on points with Seoul. 9 wins, 10 draws, and 17 losses. Now, to be honest, if you look at Bucheon's season, the second half of the season actually wasn't really too bad in the grand scheme of things. It was the start of the season where they completely did not get ready for the league. I think their first 5 goals were scored by Park Chang-jun. He was their top goal scorer last year, 13 goals, but they only relied on him to get the goals. And you know what I mean, one player, if he comes out injured, if he's having an off day, you're not getting your goals. Now, Bucheon, they have brought in some new and familiar faces. Nielsen Jr. from FC Anyang. He was actually a Bucheon player back in 2017, so it's a return for Nielsen Jr. now. So fans have been excited over that. They've brought in a Panamanian striker, Aguila, and John and Dragon Samuel also joins the fold. So, you know, a thing that I looked at whilst I was doing my research for Bucheon, 9 of the 33 players are under 22. So you can still consider it a young squad, that's thinking about the next few seasons ahead. You know, a team that has experience, as in we're looking at Nielsen Jr. here now, fantastic player, fantastic leader on the pitch. We saw that with Anyang. Mixing that experience with that youth at Bucheon, you know, they could go a long way this season. Also want to make a note, they brought in Gamhan Seoul once again. He was a Bucheon player back in 2019, a Seoul Leon player before that. He comes back into the team. As I said earlier, they had a really bad start, but seem to have pulled it back a little bit towards the end of the season. Now, we will just see how they're going to do, because the first game is against Cheongnam-Asan at home. It's a game that it's a team that you probably think might be fighting one another for whatever position they'll be in. I think they're quite similar teams with the depth of squad and how they play. So only time will tell what will happen with Bucheon, but they've got a lot to ask for last season's contributions. So
that's how we'll phrase that. Where do you have them finishing?
I have them in 9th place.
9th.
Matthew, did you complete your listing?
Yeah, 11th.
11th.
I'm going to be honest, I feel more confident in both leagues about my top half predictions than the bottom half. But yeah, 11th. I don't forget.
Michael, where do you have? You said 9th. Why are they in 9th for you?
I just personally think it's going to be Gimpo, Bucheon, and Asan kind of playing with one another. Who's going to be at the foot of the table? I don't want to throw my team in there, but you know, I'm just not going to throw my team in there, basically. So I think they're kind of the teams that are going to be there. And, you know, we'll see what happens. It's going to be a long season, one of the longer seasons in recent times since.
Yep.
And let's just see how it goes, especially with the way the world is. Teams might postpone games. There might be heavy fixtures, especially John and playing in the ACL in April. If they get any further, you know, it could be a very busy year for any team.
You mean after we win the group?
If you want to put that way, yeah. Well, I hope you win the group. It's more games for you guys.
Be great. Yeah, actually, yeah, that wouldn't be great for us. We'll see. Bucheon, I had them a little higher in my original prediction. I bumped them down to 8th just because, yeah, that feels about right. And another team that I fully expect to be down there battling it out with them is Cheongnam Asan. Matthew, what happened with them last year?
Yeah, Cheongnam Asan, they finished 8th. They won 11, drew 8, lost 17. They finished 4 points from 5th, but also 4 points from 10th, and that's kind of about right for about right for them, really. They were inconsistent. They had a 6-match winless run, a 5-match winless run, and both of these undermined any momentum they started to build. Transfer wise, well, Kim In-gyun is Daejeon bound. Matthias, Alves, Han Yong-soo, and Alexandro have all departed. In those 4 alone, Asan have lost their 4 top scorers from last season, meaning they've sold 21 of their 38 goals throughout the window. Kim In-gyun will be felt particularly strongly given he was the recipient of the Young Player of the Year award. They've also lost 4 players on loan. Coming to the end of their loan, rather. Kim Jae-sung, Lee Ki-hok, Lee Sung-jae, and Lee Hyun-il, showing perhaps the short-term nature of players in this team, in this squad. We've always said about Cheongnam Asan's limited budget, and that kind of shows in the way their players are recycled every transfer window. So there is, once again, another overhaul here to factor in. They've instead raided Incheon. They've brought in Kim Chae-eun on loan, Chae Bom-kyung, Yu Dong-kyu as for reinforcements, as well as for reinforcements from a number of K2 sides. They've also made Incheon midfielder Kim Kang-guk's loan a permanent one after spending 2 years with them. So I guess Incheon trained players are going to help them at least avoid relegation in this league where they can't get relegated. However, job done. Perhaps their biggest transfer in, and potentially their difference maker, could be Pohang Steelers' Song Sung-min. Song spell on loan at Guangzhou last season, the club where he started out, perhaps didn't work out as he would have liked, but Song is still a decent winger with a wealth of K-League 1 experience under his belt. I've actually put the difference maker, though, as attacker defender Yu Jun-soo. He's also the captain after a solid first year with the club in 2021. With experience in trophies with the Thai League, not to mention having played for both Ulsan and Pohang in the last decade, you'll be hoping to lead by example. Why did we put them at the beginning? Look at what they've lost. This could be a challenge too far for Park Dong-hyuk. He's still a very good manager, and he's capable of working with not very much, but it's going to be difficult. I've predicted them 10th.
Yeah. Michael, where do you have them in your table?
I actually also have them at 10th place. That's that. Yeah.
Make that one unanimous. Yeah, I also have them there and could very easily see them in 11th, to be honest. As you said, Matthew, there's just too many missing pieces there. We'll see. A team that's hoping to avoid these places, and one that our Indonesian listeners will be very keen to hear about, are the Ansan Greeners. Michael, what happened with them last year?
Yeah, Ansan Greeners at 7th place last season, 43 points, 11 wins, 10 draws, and 15 losses. So, all in all, kind of not respectable as much, but an okay season. Not an amazing season. I mean, they were going for playoff contention a few years prior to that, but 7th is roundabout okay. This season, though, they've brought some players in. They've brought in Thiago, a Brazilian forward, who will now link up with Jarate, ex-Guangzhou and Seoul Eland striker. He re-signs with them for his 2nd season now. As you mentioned before, Asnawi, he also has re-signed another contract with Ansan Greeners, so he'll be there for another season, hopefully with restrictions lowering, that more fans get in the stadium and truly get to see him, because I know he's a big draw for fans. I think maybe the top departures, maybe Yo Jae-min to FC Anyang, Song Joo-ho to Asan, and Kim Hyun-tae to Seongnam. Now, really, they are trying to build. I mean, there's not many departures this year from Anyang. So really, it looks like they are trying to build on the team they had and they worked with last year. As I said, it's not a bad finish 7th for them, but they want to at least do a little bit better this year. And, an extra team coming in, that's an extra 4 games. Guangzhou coming down, Daejeon and other title contenders. It's going to be a tricky year again in the K-League 2. Now, we always say it, but they could be not a dark horse, but, they could have maybe a bit of a good season if they if they gel well.
Yeah, where do you have them finishing?
I have Ansan Greeners over at 9th. Oh, no, 8th. Sorry, I apologize. 8th. I moved on at 9th.
That's right. Yeah, we already...
Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting confused.
That's how good my memory is. I forgot that you already said that. I have them in 8th. I have them in 9th myself because I have Buchan in 8th. Matthew, where do you have the Greeners?
8th as well.
Yeah. Look, had they signed... Pratama Arhan just signed he signed for Tokyo Verde in J-League 2. After the rumors of him coming to Daejeon, I thought we were going to be able to see some Indonesian players facing off against each other in K2, and I really like Pratama Arhan and Daejeon. You missed it there. That would have been really fun seeing those guys go at it, but not to be. A team that doesn't have anybody in their ASEAN player quota, as most don't, is Guangzhou FC, a team that is back down in K-League 2 after they finished with 10 wins, 7 draws, and 21 losses last year, which gave them a straight relegation down to the second division after 2 seasons in the top flight. The transfer business for them, well, basically their entire goalkeeping core is out. Niall McGinn II, also known as Jonathan, leaves after barely being there. But most importantly, I think the rumors surrounding Onwan Song going to either FC Seoul or Ulsan Hyundai are the biggest rumors and the biggest concern for Guangzhou right now. I think he has to play K-League 1 football. I think he is gone. So that's a big hole to fill for Guangzhou. And in is ACL 2021 finalist goalkeeper Lee Jun, who was playing those matches because Kang Hun-moo had a busted up wrist, I believe it was. Anyway, he was out with injury. So Lee Jun had to play there, and he'll want to forget the first 18 seconds of that final, for example, but he did play very admirably in the quarterfinals and semifinals there. So it's a really good experienced goalkeeper dropping down a division to get some starting minutes in K2. That's a really great addition for them. The difference maker, however, I'm calling the Pete Hampshire special, which is Ji Sung. He's still 19 years old. He scored 4 in the first division last year, and I think he's going to be relied upon to do much more heavy lifting in the second division this year and should pair up pretty well with fellow youngster and U23 national teamer Ho Yul, who is also going to be benefiting from going against second division defenses this year. I think those two are going to link up really well, especially in a year where they're gearing up for the U23 championship that's going to be in Uzbekistan in June of this year. So they're going to want to be in good form going into that, and that's who Guangzhou's got to depend on, is the youngsters. I like that this team went young, because if you're going down to the second division, why not go ahead and develop some youth talent? And that's largely why we have them here. Is it's hard to see them being a yo-yo club this year. They just don't really have the depth or the big names to get them straight back up, but they could and should be a pretty fun side to watch if they are managed well. I have them finishing 6th because I think the youth is going to lead the way. The kids are all right for Guangzhou. Matthew, you gave a look. Where do you have them?
No, I'm 6 as well.
Oh, okay. That was the look then. Michael?
Yeah,
I have them in 5th.
You have them 5th? Okay.
I have 5th, yeah. So round about the same.
Just missing that playoff spot.
No, not this year.
No, not this year.
Oh, right.
Perhaps we can talk about that after the break.
Which we are going to take right now. We'll be right back.
FNR is a revolutionary football-dedicated digital platform, the first of its kind in Australia. It provides a 24/7 live online radio platform experience, podcast hub, and acts as a content provider for TV, radio, and digital. Having reached millions of listeners and football fans since launching, FNR is accessible worldwide via its website or app, providing a platform to discuss, debate, and celebrate the world game. We are your voice of football, FNR Football Nation Radio.
Welcome back to the K-League United podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Walters. And you know what? I'm very happy, and I shouldn't say this, but we haven't had any technical glitches yet in our first show back. I'm going to knock on all the wood around me here just to make sure. I know. Why did I say it during a live show?
You just jinxed it.
I know. But a team that you certainly are hoping isn't jinxed this season is Seoul Eland. Michael, what happened with them last year?
Oh, where to begin? Okay. No technical errors, but I'm technically a bit perplexed what happened last season. 9th place. I'm lost for words really what happened with Seoul Eland, because they started so well. They started the first 5 games undefeated. They were top of the league for the first time in their existence. They looked like they were world beaters, and I got excited. Seoul got excited, and then it ended up an abysmal year. 9th place, level on points with Bucheon with 37 points, 8 wins, 13 draws, and 15 losses. Yeah, it was just, I remember at one point during the season, we went 10 games without even scoring a goal. So never mind even winning or losing games. So desperate times in the summer for Seoul Leland. However, this year, it's a new year. We've let go, Seoul have let go of so many players and brought in so many players. It's almost a brand new team once again. Top departures will be in Lee Sang-min, who will go to FC Seoul. A lot of fans hated the fact that he left. Some fans quite enjoyed the fact that he went to FC Seoul. The other unfortunate loss is I have a million DMs tonight, honestly. The unfortunate departure of Leandro to Daejeon Hana Citizens. I think it was a matter of time of when Leandro was going to go somewhere, unfortunately, due to his talent and his skill. And just unfortunately, it's someone we're contending with in the same league, which is a bit of a bitter pill to swallow. However, with that being said, all the foreigners are gone now. Benegas, Babio, Leandro. However, we bring in some talent. We've got Sabusa from Daegu comes in. We've got an Argentine forward of Asanjo and Felipe Cajanati. They were both playing in the second league of the Argentinian football division. We've got a captain of Kim In-sung who has won it all. I mean, he's won the ACL and F with Ulsan Hyundai. He takes over the captain's band this season, so you'd expect him to lead this team to glory, hopefully. Seoul Leland kind of raided Guangzhou a little bit as well in the off-season. They bring Kim Won-sik in, and they also bring goalkeeper Yoon Bo-sang as well. So they did a little bit of business. A fantastic signing. These are the signings which I'm like, right, if we're going to have a good season, it's because of you guys. I want to make a note now that we're now into the 3rd and final year of Chun Jun-young's original 3-year contract. Obviously, extensions can happen, but this is the 3rd and final year that he kind of has a chance to let this Seoul project come to life. Obviously, we had a fantastic 2020, missed out short on goal difference for a playoff spot. 2021 last year was terrible. Last year, the problem was no one was scoring goals. And you think if you can get the 2 Argentine forwards, Asajo and Cadenazzi, to score, especially Kim In-sung as well, do you know what I mean? We could score a lot of goals this year. So I really don't know with Seoul this year. The last time we changed the team around like this was 2020, where it was a fantastic, memorable year. We've once again even brought in more low-knee players. Just to name some, we've got Lee Song-yun from Jeonbuk. But Park Tae-jung from Songnam, I've got Jung Sung-ho from Pohang Steelers. So once again, Chun Jun-young is bringing in youth low-knee players to be an integral part of the Seoul Leland team. It seems to be the fibre of our DNA at the minute to bring in these young low-knee players and hopefully build them for experience. And if Seoul get promoted, hopefully be part of Seoul's history. But it'll be interesting to see. It'll be really interesting to see what happens this year. I feel like the pressure is kind of off compared to what happened in 2021, especially such a start. Fair. Don't get me wrong, if we go 5 games undefeated again, I'll probably be on another interview on Naver TV saying we're going to win it all, like I did last year. But for now, I think the pressure's off a little bit. Just go and play football, boys.
Well, we do have them in the playoff contenders bracket here. Where do you think they're going to finish?
Okay. I've got them in 6th place.
Oh.
So I've got my own team. I can see myself crying in the stands of Mokdong in the last game of the season against Busan already. I can already see the tears. I think we're going to fall short again, unfortunately.
Matthew, save him here. Tell him they're finishing 4th.
I won't tell him that. I'll tell him they're finishing 5th.
Oh.
Because that's what I say every year. About Seoul Leland.
There is a slight difference there this year, which we will talk about very soon. As we've already alluded to, it's going to be a playoff spot. No secrets there. I have them in 7th. Sorry.
Yeah,
just because I think it's going to be very similar. I mean, all of K League 2 is going to be absolutely nuts this year, and we've got a really good question in the mailbag about that. K2 is just absolutely insane, so we're going to have to see how things play out here, because that middle pack is really going to be dense, and I don't think it's going to be like last year where we had a couple of clear favorites at the top of the table. I just don't see that happening. So we'll see what happens with Seoul Eland. One of the teams that really should be expecting to be in the playoffs based on their history and based on the team that they've built, but they weren't last year, is Gyeongnam FC. Matthew, what happened with them last year?
Well, yeah, they finished 6th last year. It was kind of an underwhelming season. They scored 40 and conceded 45. Why have I started with that? Well, as mentioned in the review podcast, they had the highest XG in the league, but they significantly underperformed. They should have scored 16 more goals, according to the stats. They also overperformed in defence when they should have let in 9 more. Basically, should have scored more and should have conceded far more. So, transfer-wise, they brought in Mo Jae-hyun and Hannam coming in from Anyang. They brought in Kim Se-yeon from Daejeon and Lee Ji-sung from rivals Busan. They have K1 talent in the form of Kim Bom-young and Park Min-seo from Suwon FC and Daegu, respectively. They've also loaned in a 23-year-old keeper in Ko Dong-min from Matsumoto Yamaga to put some pressure on the goalkeeping spot. Out, though, there have been some big names, promising young right-back, a player I quite liked last season, Kim Ju-hwan. He's seen his loan end, returned to Pohang, and then they've loaned him out to Anyang instead. Baek Sung-dong, contract has expired. He's joined Anyang. And left-back in Kim Dong-jin has also moved to Anyang, while midfielder Im Min-hyuk, well, he's moved to old Anyang. Yes, he's at FC Seoul. Difference maker, though. Just right in. Anyway, difference maker. Well, it's actually more of a player I want to see more of. One player I liked last season, it was a 22-year-old midfielder attacker, depending how you want to see him registered. It's Hernandez. He crept into double digits on his goal tally last season. He got a single assist as well. He fared highly in the attacking stats for players below the age of 23. He's got 1 year of experience under his belt now. Should push on, I think. Willian is also still there. Scored 11 and assisted 2 last season. And as mentioned, the attack just needed a better idea of how to finish. They were creating the quality opportunities. They were creating plenty of scoreable opportunities that they were just squandering. And with these kind of stats over time, they usually balance themselves out. They can't keep underperforming forever. They're going to get it together eventually. But yeah, we did mention their defense overperformed, yet no investment has really gone into strengthening that apart from Kim Bom-young, one player they brought in to strengthen that defense. Seoul Ki-hyun has picked up more clinical finishers, perhaps, but it will be all for nothing if they can't stop the leaks at the back. However, I'm going to say they're going to finish 4th.
Oh,
that's
okay.
More based on I think they're the bet, obviously, but I can't see any of the teams below them getting that higher, which, yeah, obviously that's the whole thing of predictions, but
you have described how predictions work.
I basically had a gap and I was like, well, they're not as bad as this lot. Sorry, Michael, I've said Seoul Eland's 5th. Yeah.
So rude. Michael, where do you have Gyeongnam finishing?
I put them ahead in 7th place.
Oh, okay.
Because I just feel like they have departed with a few key players this year. There's something about Gyeongnam which doesn't strike confidence for me this year. Obviously, they've been back in the K League 2 for 2 seasons, and they still haven't beat Seoul Eland in the last 2 seasons. Being back in the K League 2, I want to make that point as well. Not bitter, just better. But I think they're going to finish below Seoul Eland in 7th this season.
Okay, I have them eking into the playoffs in 5th place. So we'll see. One team that I expect to do quite well, and we've got them in the playoff contenders based on popular opinion. I'll go into where I think they're going to finish. And that's Busan I Park. This is a team that had 12 wins, 9 draws, and 15 losses last year for a 5th place finish, which meant missing out on the playoffs. The transfer business for them, well, let's just start with the important bit. They've retained the services of back-to-back K-League 2 MVP, a very rare feat, in An Byung-jun, which in and of itself is a massive win and a massive signing for them in a lot of ways, in my opinion. They've also signed a lot of first division talent like Kang Yoon-gu from Ulsan, Ikang Hee joins from Suwon Blue Wings, and there are a couple other guys as well. I think it's always smart when K2 teams go after guys in K1 that just aren't getting the minutes. But despite all of that, and I've already alluded to it, their difference maker, it's Byung Jun. The dude has scored 44 goals. That's league goals, mind you. 44 goals in 2 seasons. That's insane. And he's still playing K-League 2 football. So I don't know what K-League 1 teams don't want in him, but I'm sure Busan is happy to keep him around. And as long as they've got him, I think they're going to be in pretty good stead, and they do still have him. So why are they here? Well, they should be a lock for title contention in a lot of ways, but they really, really struggle to find consistency, especially when it comes to winning. They had back-to-back wins in late September and early October of last year, and that was their first time doing so since May of 2021. And those two times that they won back-to-back were the only times they won back-to-back all year. They could not string wins together, which explains why they weren't able to make the playoffs, and should be a concern if they do make the playoffs, because you're going to have to win a couple there. But with all of that in mind, I think this team's talented. I think this is the year they put it together. There's no Gimchun Sangmu to contend with this year. I think they finished second.
Sorry, who
everybody agrees.
Who are we talking about again? Have I missed the team in the rundown here? Because I could. Busan.
Mm-hmm. Finishing second. You heard it here.
Well, I think we are having technical difficulties, because I swear you're saying second, but I mean you surely should be saying seventh, which is where I have them.
Oh, okay. Michael, you going to split the difference?
Well, I just feel like I'm back in 2018 with that prediction of second place. I don't know. To be fair, I've put them in 4th place. But yeah,
I mean, really, when you think about it, same in a lot of ways.
So we've got a 4th, a second, and a 7th. Fantastic continuity here.
They're going to finish somewhere. We can guarantee you that. All right. Speaking of, we're going to move into the title contenders now, and we probably should have led with this, but Matthew, we've alluded to this a couple of times. These are the teams that we think are going to be fighting for the playoff spots, but the playoffs this year are very different.
Yeah, no, that's right. This year we see playoffs going all the way down to 5th. So from the K-League 2 perspective, first place will be going directly into the K-League 1, while second place will be contending with 11th place in the K-League 1 in a relegation promotion playoff. Then 3rd, 4th, and 5th will do the usual K-League 2 playoff system, with 5th versus 4th at home, the winner of that versus 3rd at home, and then the winner of that going on to verse 10th from the K-League 1. Yes, there is a possibility of 3 K-League 1 sides going down this season as well, which is going to factor into a lot when Muyol comes in to talk about Daegu and where they might be finishing. But I wouldn't dare put them that low. I love that hedgehog too much. But yeah, that's the playoffs this season in a nutshell.
Yeah, so should be really interesting. I still wish we had the playoff winner going straight into the first division, but the chances of more teams going up and more teams moving, I think I'll just have to take that for now. Speaking of teams that are going to be on the move, let's talk about the K-League 2 title contenders, starting with the mighty Jeonnam Dragons. That's right. Last year, they finished with 13 wins, 13 draws, just 10 losses, and a playoff loss, a 0-0 loss to Daejeon Hana Citizen in the playoffs. And there was that little old FA Cup championship against the mighty K-League 1 Daegu FC. Who knows how that one could have went down? Who knows if that Daegu team would have had a lead at home that they couldn't hang on to with 4 goals from the Dragons. But we'll talk about it another time. We'll talk about it another time in the ACL preview show. It's not a big deal. We don't always bring up the fact that the Jeonnam Dragons are the defending FA Cup champions. These guys are sick of it. Everybody else is sick of it. I'm not sick of it. It's great. Anyway, let's talk about the transfer business. Despite the fact that they won the FA Cup, they kind of clean house in a lot of ways. Park Chan-young is off to Pohang. Gwangyang Rooney, Lee Jung-ho and his amazing Tiger celebration, he's gone. Park Jun-hyuk, in my opinion, one of the better goalkeepers in the division, he's gone. Oleg, gone. Samuel, gone. Alex, gone. Another season of clearing house, and it was a very, very slow transfer window that had me very worried, considering the Dragons are going to be fighting on 3 fronts this year. But eventually they did get some notable additions, and Leonard Balana, I'm going to hope that I said that somewhere near right, and Georgian international Nika Katarava to help with the re-signed Balotelli in attack. And re-signing Balotelli was huge. He obviously led the way in goals scored last year as well. And they've added some K-League 1 talent from the likes of Suwon Samsung Blue Wings and Jumbuk Hyundai Motors. So it's been an okay transfer window when you compare it to, say, Daejeon or Seoul Eland's transfer window. Not great, but not bad. The difference maker, well, we're going to have to hope that it's Polana because we really need help up top. 13 goals in 28 appearances in the Swedish second division last year. Pretty good mark. I think most Dragons fans would take the same this year. The defense will be strong once again. So if he and all the other new signings can actually take some focus out of Balotelli, then it should be a pretty well-balanced side. So we hope. Why did we put them here? Why are we putting them as a title contender? Because we can't just give them the title. I mean, we could. But they do have an FA Cup title to defend. They're trying to win K-League 2 or at least make it into the playoffs. And they've got that little old tournament against literally champions in Champions League. They are drawn in. They now know they're going to be playing in Bangkok. They are playing the Thai champions in BG Pathum United. The 2020 and would have been 2021 if the season would have finished. Philippine champions United City, and then Melbourne City, the reigning Australian champions, are all in the Dragons group. So that's going to be a really tough group for them, and it's a lot to contend with this year. So I don't see them winning the title outright, but I do see them near the top of the table again. I see them finishing third. Michael?
I've done you one better. I've put them second place.
Oh.
Because I'm going to give you the sweet and the sour. I just think because they're going to crash out the ACL so quickly, they'll focus on the league. So I've got them in second place this year.
Okay, well, I'd like some of that.
There's a lot of shade being thrown on this podcast.
Gunning for promotion. That's clearly what I'm doing by saying, Ryan, they're definitely going to finish third.
You know what, Matthew? I think you would make a great editor-in-chief of K-League United. That's how things are done,
I mean, if Michael said second, what does he get?
Hearty congratulations. I can't just give out these titles willy-nilly like that. Oh, I see Clint is watching live. Thank you, Clint. I'm happy to see you. The reason that sound is there for those that are listening is because he was talking about the worst rebranding since the Chicago Fire decided to do whatever that thing was that we had for a couple of years. My teams hate good logos, apparently, because the Dunham Dragons took what is this beautiful crest, for those of you watching live, and they made it into, honestly, I think it would be a Football Manager reject. This thing doesn't even look like it would pass the quality control on a fake team. It is awful.
It looks like the grill of a car. You know, the front of your car. It looks like one of them.
The whole point of rebranding is so that things can reduce and you can see it at size, so it can scale and be a favicon and all these other kind of things, right? This thing is terrible. There's nothing good about it. It's awful. I hate it. I won't buy the kit this year. And I'm glad that I bought this hoodie during the FA Cup final, which we won. I don't know if I mentioned that. Anyway, let's move on. I'll save some of the humble bragging. What do we call it? I'll save some of the bragging for mules here, and we can finally face off. Anyway, let's move on. Up next, we are going to all be taking a back seat here because we're going to be talking about Daejeon Hana Citizen. And for that, well, of course, we had to bring in Paul Neat. Here's what he had to say.
Daejeon's transfer business has been very good. Granted, some big names have left, such as captain Park Jin-sop to Jeonbuk, and their two first-choice centre-halves, but the board has been very busy in bringing in reinforcements. Lee Chang-gun and Jong San will compete for the number one spot, while Kwon Han-jin, Choi Yu-min and Kim Jae-woo will most likely be the first-choice back three. Leandro from Seoul Eland might prove to be a shrewd signing too, while the club did well to fend off competition from top-flight clubs to sign last year's K-League 2 Young Player of the Year, Kim In-gyun. The club are still after a foreign striker, but with Massa and Gong Min-hyun there, I wouldn't see this as being too urgent. The difference maker will be Cho Min, the club's new captain, and a direct replacement for Pak Jin-sop, someone who can play at centre-back or further up in midfield. Cho is athletic, versatile and hungry and will help drive Daejeon forward from back to front, whether he plays as a centre-back or as a DM. The fact that he, as a new signing and still only 25, has been named as new skipper shows just how highly rated he is. The only question will be where he plays, as he can also be deployed as a striker. Massa is also worth a mention. He got 9 goals and 2 assists in 17 appearances last year. That form played out over a full season would amount to around 20 goals. It is because of the club's no-nonsense approach to the transfer window why Daejeon will be seen as title challengers. The club has either brought in proven K-League 1 quality or players with potential, and by using last year's heartbreak, will be more determined than ever. They also simply look better equipped to go the distance this time around, which is why I think Daejeon will finish first and champions of K-League 2. Other clubs have done very well so far in this transfer window, such as Seoul Eland and Guangzhou, but with Lee Min-sung now having had a full year of experience under his belt as manager, the 2022 season has to be Daejeon's last in the second tier.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see about that. We did have somebody come in on the other side, Foot Tour, saying that they actually dig the new Dragons badge. Disagree. Hard disagree. Thanks for watching, though. But that's what Paul said about Daejeon Hana Citizen. He has them winning the league. And Matthew, do you agree?
Yeah, Hana Place for Daejeon first. There's only Hana Place. I'm using it. I know that was a grammatical night, and Muyol's coming on to sort me out there, grammatically speaking. So I'd like to say that I was using that in accounting context and probably still got it very wrong. So yeah, just move on.
Michael, where do you have them finishing?
Yeah, I unfortunately do have them in first place as well. I have to agree with Paul. They have a philosophy since they were overtaken by Hanwha and Heng and Hana Bank. They've been gunning for promotion, and they've been cutthroat almost about it with the players they're bringing in. Obviously, I can only talk about Leandro, how, he didn't have a fantastic season last season, but, he's a proven, talented player. And I think they've got a fantastic signing in him going into that team, playing with players who will feed him the ball. So I think they are going to get promoted in first spot this year.
Yeah. I don't see anybody else getting first place. I would agree there. But there is one more team to talk about in K-League 2 after we've all just given the title to Daejeon. We have one more team to talk about, the team that finished ahead of them last year, and that is FC Anyang. Well, I guess I've given away what happened last year. Anyway, Michael.
Well, yes, FC Anyang, their second place finish last year with 17 wins, 11 draws, and 8 losses. Unfortunately for Anyang, they lost 3-1 to Daejeon in the K2 playoff final. Now, it was their best result since the reformation of the Anyang-based team back in 2013. So they should be proud of their achievements. But why would they want to stop there? They'll hopefully want to try and continue and do even better. They had a big off-season. They were able to sign Jonathan Moyer's loan move to a permanent basis. He was integral for the team this year, and making that loan move to a permanent signing has been really good for Anyang, I personally feel. 14 goals last season. He was their top goal scorer. Big sign as well with Baek Song-dong from Gyeongnam coming in. A leader at Gyeongnam. So obviously FC Anyang have brought that experience into that side, and he's a proven goal scorer as well. We've seen him score a few goals to Gyeongnam throughout the years. As I said earlier, Junior has departed from Anyang now. He makes his way back to Bucheon. Song-eun Myung is also a loss. He played 34 of the 37 league games for Anyang last season. That's including the playoff. And he makes his way over to Matthew at Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors. Now, Park Dong-yu is also moving to Jeju. He played the most minutes last year as a defender. So, Anyang are unloading quite a few of their players who did well for them in 2021. It will be interesting to see if they can build their success of last year. The positives is, they've got a proven goal scorer up top. And however, they will need to rebuild the defence and see how they will fare defensively now, because I think that's going to be their issue. Up top, they know Moy is a proven goal scorer. Let's see what they do at the back.
Yeah. And with all that in mind, where do you have them finishing?
And with that in mind, I have them in third place still. I think they're going to keep hold of this potential. And let's see how they go. It could completely flop, but, third.
I have them a little bit lower, still in the playoffs, but I have them finishing fourth. Matthew?
I have them finishing second.
Oh, well, that's where Busan is going to finish this year, so it's weird that you don't have them there. On that note, we're going to bid adieu to Michael for a little bit because even though we're usually at the part where we would be hopping into the mailbag, it's a season preview extravaganza. We're doing them all in one. If you're listening to the podcast in the K-League 2 version, I think we're going to cut this here, and this will be the K-League 2 preview podcast. But for those of you watching live, we're going to take a really quick break. We're going to kick Michael out. We're going to bring Muyol in, but don't worry, Michael will be back for the mailbag, which is still coming. It's a marathon session. The season's starting soon. We're here for all of it. We'll be right back.
Fans, we want to hear from you. You're encouraged to email KLU at info@kleagueunited.com or tweet at KLeague United with any questions, comments, or reactions. Or ask directly during one of our live shows.
Welcome back to the K-League United podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Walters. Into the K-League 1 segment. Matthew Binns is still here, and we're joined by Jung Muyol. Muyol, how you doing?
Hi, how are you doing? I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, things are good. I noticed you're wearing your colors. It's nice. Nice. Have our teams played each other recently in the FA Cup?
No, I don't remember actually at all.
I love that you wore the FA Cup kit for this as well. I mean, a true fan. Anyway, I'll stop. I'm not going to stop bragging. I will be doing that throughout this entire segment. I apologize to absolutely no one because as a Jeonnam Dragons fan, I didn't think we would win much in my time here in Korea. So I'm still just on cloud nine about it, and it's good times. Anyway, we're not going to be talking about them to start. What we are going to be talking about is the K-League 1 relegation battle, which, as we mentioned in the K2 segment, includes potentially up to 3 teams this year. It is still just one team guaranteed to go down, but we do have 2 teams that will be playing off against others. However, with that in mind, we do only have 2 teams down in this segment, and the first of which is a team that I personally think is going to struggle a little bit this year, and we've just brought him in fresh off of the bench, getting those first touches. Muyol, let's talk about Seongnam FC.
Yes, Seongnam FC. I think 2021 season was their third season in the top flight football, and the second season with their rookie manager Kim Nam-il in charge. And in the end, last season they avoided relegation by the skin of teeth, finishing 10th, 11 win and 11 draw, and 16 defeats. And in terms of transfer business, I think they did pretty well in defensive department, but not in attacking wise.
Mm-hmm.
They have Hong Si-hoo and Jeon Jong-hyuk and Austrian defender Richard and Uzbekistan international Jamshid Iskandarov and Sergio Bush all gone, while they brought in a couple of defenders from Pohang and Jeonbuk. So one from Pohang is Kwon An-gyu and the defender Kim Min-hyuk. And bear in mind that there are 2 Kim Min-hyuk in Seongnam squad. So one in defense and one in midfielder. But they are actually born in the same year, but different months. So if you are following the Kim Min-hyuk,
no confusion there at all.
Yeah, it's very confusing actually for me.
When he plays, he's everywhere.
Yeah. There are 2 Kim Min-hyuk on the pitch, and yeah, in terms of the signings, they actually re-signed the Faisal Mulic on a permanent deal, and they also re-signed Kim Young-kwang. Extended the deal with Kim Young-kwang and also defender Ma Sang-hoon. And they also have Gu Bon-hyuk from Incheon and Choi Pil-soo from Busan, and Seung-min from Jeonbuk, and Lee Jong-sung from Suwon, and Kwak Kwang-sun from Jeonnam. So I think I can see majority of players who actually come in are defender or just a midfielder, not actually attacker. So I think the difference maker in the team is just the Milic. He's the only one who can actually score up front, and he was actually one of the nominees for the league's best 11 last season. He scored 13 goals from 36 games in all competitions. Well, I think the biggest question for them is, I think Kim Nam-il really needs to prove his ability as a manager. He's the rookie. He's the rookie manager. I think he runs out of his time in the K1 because the last 2 seasons he was really struggling with Seongnam. They had a good start, but consistency is a problem. So they just ended up in the bottom half and then narrowly avoided relegation. And the other problem is they had the lowest goal scored last season. They scored only 34 goals in 38 games. So less than 1 goal per game. And the problem is actually there's no other attacker who can actually help Milic there. So there's a Park Yong-ji there, but his finishing is always questionable.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say it's going to be rough, but what do you think? How are they going to do this year? Where are they going to finish?
Well, I put them in the bottom.
You don't have to be ashamed of it. You don't owe them anything.
No.
Matthew, where do you have them?
12th.
Ooh. Sorry, Magpies fans. Let's make that one unanimous. I don't see any teams. I don't see any teams finishing below them. Who are you going to pick to put below them?
No one. Time's run out for him.
No one. I just don't see anybody that's going to finish below them. I mean, I said something very similar last year and it didn't. I'm going that way. So we will see. To talk about a team that is hoping to be a little bit further from them, but one that we definitely have as a community, as the K-League United community, we thought they might be in the relegation battle, is Gangwon FC. And here to talk about the season ahead is Nathan Sartain. Here's what he had to say.
For Gangwon, last season was one to forget. With 10 wins, 13 draws and 15 losses, the club found themselves down in 11th and faced with an undesirable promotion/relegation playoff against Daejeon to stay in K-League 1. Of course, they did manage to salvage their first division status, courtesy of an unexpectedly strong second leg performance. But the fact is, 2021 was a year of great disappointment for the Bears. Going into this year, Gangwon have been slow movers in the transfer market, but have at least attempted to rectify their attacking problems. Dino Islamovic, a 6'3" target man type, could potentially prove key in the Bears' quest to move up the table, with Cheong-soo hoping that the Montenegrin can add an element of consistency to a forward line which can often be overly reliant on star players. Bearing that in mind, it is attacker Kim Dae-won who is likely to be the key man again this year, with a 25-year-old one of the few Gangwon players who can look back on 2021 as a success. He'll be hoping to build on his impressive goal tally, whilst also ensuring he keeps to the same high standards fans saw towards the end of last campaign. If he does, it'll go a long way in helping bring any sort of success to the club. With all that in mind, it does look likely that Gangwon will still be in a relegation battle in the immediate future. Their winter window has been largely uninspiring, and if players like Islamovic fail to hit the ground running, the Bears may quickly find themselves in the same type of trouble they did just a few months ago. However, with Cheong-soo in charge, there could still be room for some quiet optimism, even if it only extends as far as believing there's a chance for a relatively stress-free season of mid-table security. For me though, as much as I'd like to have faith in Gangwon pushing on after their playoff win, it's hard to look past the issues still amongst the squad. The side could do with more quality all over the pitch, and for that reason, I'd back them to finish 10th, confined to another scrap for survival.
10th. That's what Nathan's saying. Matthew, what are you saying for Gangwon?
10th.
Muyol?
11th.
Yeah, I got him in 11th as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 10th and 11th, there's not a huge difference this year from the K-League 1 perspective. You're going to face a K2 team. So not a massive difference between those two. But yeah, this is a team that I do imagine is going to struggle. So those are the only two teams that we put into the actual relegation battle, the only actual relegation bracket here. The rest we have in the fight for Final A is what we're calling this segment because
optimistic.
It's optimistic. And I mean, look, I think the middle pack in both divisions is going to be really thick this year. And the team that we're starting with is a team that's really, really hoping to finish in the Final A this year. It is FC Seoul. What happened with them last year is that they had 12 wins, 11 draws, and 15 losses. That was good enough for a 7th place finish and their 3rd Final B finish in 4 years. It's just not good enough if you're FC Seoul. Out from them, with the goalkeeper battle appears to be over with Yu Sang-hoon transferred over to Gangwon, and they have finally cut the dead weight in the form of Park Ju-young. He is now down in Ulsan, a fighting Horangi in the year of the Horangi. Lee Sang-min joins. I don't think he had to switch apartments, but he joins from Seoul Elan. We've already talked a little bit about that. And 29-year-old Brazilian defender Ricardo Silva also makes his first foray abroad. And the most exciting signing for me is winger joining from Adelaide United. It is former Socceroo Ben Halloran. He has spent some time in Germany honing his craft and was doing quite well for Adelaide. For those of us that are watching A-League regularly on YouTube last year, or by whatever means necessary this year, by the subscriptions that we all have. Anyway, following A-League, I think he is going to be a really good signing for them, and I like that. The difference maker, however, and I've been eating a lot of crow this winter, and it's delicious because this is going to be the year of the young Wookiee. That's right, Cho Young-uk. This is his season. He is the difference maker for FC Seoul. After doubting him last year and saying he needed to drop down a division, I think this is the year we see him emerge as somebody that's going to be able to take over this side. I think he's going to be playing up top, hopefully with a healthy Ji Dong-won, and is going to be flanked by Na Sang-ho and Halloran. That's just a really good setup, especially when you've got Ki Sung-young pulling the strings from the midfield behind you. I just see that going well. Why are they here, though? Well, they'll be better, but there are a lot of new pieces that they need to put into place, and it's hard to see them unseating too many of the teams above them. So it is hard to really tell where they're going to be. We'll see. We do have another shout for Park Ji-young as the comeback player of the year. Again, it's always there. He's always there. I have this team, this FC Seoul team, finishing 5th. Muyong, what do you got?
I see them finish 8th.
8th? Okay.
Yeah, actually, that's one step below from the last year, actually.
Yeah,
Matthew?
I've done the same as Muyong. I've gone 8th.
You guys just aren't back in the right clubs this year. Everybody's down in Busan. Everybody's down in FC Seoul.
Oh, we're always wrong. We're always wrong.
This isn't just because I want Seoul back in Champions League when hopefully home and away resumes. It's not because of that. Anyway, let's talk about a team that wants to be in Final A, that I think most of our hearts want in Final A, and it's Incheon United. Matthew, what happened with them last year?
Yeah, they won 12. They drew 11. They lost 15. They finished, and forgive me if I'm reading this right, 8th. Yeah, Incheon United finished 4 points from safety and were rarely troubled. It was an uncharacteristically boring year from Incheon, truth be told, and it's forced the K-League's hand to increase the relegation places up to 10th to bring back that end of season excitement, and that's why we're talking about them here. They've brought in Jeonbuk's Lee Ju-young, and they've brought him in on a loan. They've also brought in midfielder Yo Rum from FC Seoul. Both are good players. He just had too many people in front of him in Jeonju. Who's never going to get that game time, but he is a Korean national team player when he's playing. So, also Yo Rum, he was great at Guangzhou, but his talent didn't transfer with him to Seoul. So it would be interesting to see if you have a more productive season here. They've also brought in promising young attacker Hong Si-hoo from Songnam, which should help them fill their under-22 quota. I'd say promising. He didn't score in the last year, though, in the league. But yeah, there is another attacker, and that's Lee Young-jae, who, yes, Asian Games 2014, Lee Young-jae. He's made the jump from J-League 2 outfit Fagiano Akiyama and should provide some competition up front. To be honest, though, I think their best signing is Lee Myung-ju in the centre of the park. He's returned to Korea after some time back at Al-Wada. got a wealth of experience and should shore up the midfield. They have, however, seen attackers Kim Hyun and Nageba venture out the door with a number of other players. Difference maker, though, it continues to be Magosa. He was injured a lot last season, yet somehow still bagged 9 in 20 appearances. So a full fit Magosa will ensure that this team does okay this season. And why do we put them here? Because it's Incheon. Although I am seeing a number of people putting out their predictions, thinking their luck is going to run out this year. But I've bought into the promise of last season, and I still quite like their manager, Jo Sung-hwan, who is now their longest-serving manager since 2015's Kim Do-hun. So predictive finishing. Well, relegation starts at 10th, so let's put Incheon in at 9th.
Oh, okay. I like it. Muyol, where you got them?
I put them in 10th. So just the top of the relegation zone.
How dare you?
So rude to put them in the same place that I have them. I also have them in 10th.
Yeah.
Because usually that would be fine. But I don't think it's going to be this year. We're finally going to see them win that promotion relegation playoff that we've seen them avoid for so long. So now they can finally win one of those at home and really send the fans home happy. That's how that's going to go. Why would it go any other way? Moving on to teams that have also dealt with disappointment when it comes to finals. Let's talk about the Pohang Steelers. What happened for them last year? 12 wins, 10 draws, 16 losses, and 1 ACL final appearance that went south kind of quickly. But it was a hell of a run, and they had a really great season overall last year when you look at it. And I think it's worth noting here that I don't think they would have had as many losses and draws in the end if they still cared about the league after it split. They were never really going to be troubled with the relegation battle, and they really had to focus on ACL. So I don't think the record's necessarily indicative of the team that they had last year, but they weren't a final A team by any stretch of the imagination. So with that in mind, this winter, out goes Mario Kvesic and Boris Tashti. So they have instead brought in Wanderson Carvalho. That's right. He is rumored. They put out the squad numbers. It's like half of his name. For those of you unfamiliar with Hangul, it's just the top half. Who could it be? It's him. He's back. And that's a really great signing for them. They've also signed 31-year-old Nigerian Moses Agbu, who signed after scoring 18 and 31 appearances for a team name that I absolutely love. Did not know about this team. In the Chinese League One, Wuhan Three Towns. Three Towns. That is an amazing team name. Kind of want the kit immediately. Anyway, he did all right for them last year, so we'll see what he can do for Pohang this year. However, the difference maker is not somebody up front for me. It is Shin Jin Ho, because that man is an absolute machine who can run any midfield, does so extremely well. And I think with him as that ticking clock in the middle of the midfield this year, Pohang could be all right. We'll have to see what they do. And, you know, if somebody plays decently for 3 or 4 months, then they're probably going to be sold to Jeonbuk. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with Pohang? But I think Shin Jin Ho is the man that will be determining how well or how poorly things go for them. Why do we have them here? Well, I mean, because where else we're going to put them? They could be on either side of the dividing line, and I don't think it would be a huge shock to see them in Final A. Maybe. I, however, have them in 9th. I don't see them in the promotion relegation playoff final, but I don't see them doing a lot better. Muyol, am I off base on that?
I have them in 7th.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we move on.
Where do you have them?
I forgot. I kind of forgot to go back and change my predictions, and I've now played all the other teams I could have shifted below them. So Pohang are finishing 11th.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
I don't need to explain myself. Let's move on.
You don't. You don't. That's not. We don't have a podcast to explain these kind of things. That's not what this is all about. All right, let's move on to another team that we think is going to be fighting for Final A. I don't think it's going to be that hard of a fight for them, if I'm being honest. It's Gimcheon Sangmu. Matthew?
Yeah, they finished first in 2021. That's first in the K2, obviously. They won 20, drew 11, lost 5, and they were scoring a lot in the process, 60 goals. In the transfer window, well, with Gimcheon, its players applying. their military service, and it depends who Gimcheon pick. Now they have had a large request of players wanted to join in the winter, and they chose just 4. They chose Kwon Chang-hun from Suwon Blue Wings, great signing, Korean central midfielder. They've also chosen Lee Young-jae from the other Suwon, the good Suwon central midfielder. They've got Kim Ji-hyun, young forward from Ulsan, and they've also got Kang Yun-sun from Jeju. That's the left back at Jeju. It's 4 good signings, but on that list there was also rumored to be players Lee Dong-jun, now no longer in the K-League, spoilers for later, and Won Do-jae, but also on the application list. So didn't go with them, maybe because they've got a few more years on their side. These players perhaps are more pressing to get in now, and it also perhaps these fill more holes. Kwon Chang-hun could prove to be a handful, especially in a World Cup year, and I expect him to be starting regularly given his talent. And there's also Cho Kyu-sung, who is forging a name for himself in the Korean national team at present with goals in recent matches. There is a lot of international talent on this team. I think there were 6 players actually representing the national team from the army in the recent international break. So not only needs to stay relevant for the World Cup squad selection, but he also needs to stay relevant enough to find playing time against Gustavo and Ilyachenko when he goes back to Jeonbuk in the autumn. He needs a big year, and he seems the kind of player that would benefit from that Kim Tae-won magic that we've come to expect. Why did we put them here? I don't know, because I think they're a very, very, very good team. But I don't make the rundowns. Potentially, I have written, well, for lack of full neat, proclaiming FC Seoul in first and calling Park Chu-young the comeback player of the year, I have wrote this, and once again, I've not gone back to these notes. It's been a few days, and I have written potentially, emphasis, potentially the most exciting squad outside of Jeonju. And they'll have to battle with the usual autumn exodus. One thing, though, is the waiting list for the army continues to grow with only a handful being selected. So once again, they're going to have a large pool to pick from when the summer comes around. Predicted finish, 4th. Real Gimcheon to be hampered by mid-season changes to the squad.
Well, 4th place.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Muyol.
that's a mind-blowing. I have them in 9th.
Kim Tae-won's coming around your house, mate. He's
I'm glad that we went in this order and I saved myself for last year, because I would never put them as low as 9th. I put them in 8th.
Oh, well, that's very similar.
Because I'll explain why as we continue to go on here. And speaking of continuing to go on, well, this is what we've brought this long-haired young man for. I mentioned this before we came on, by the way. I do love folks that are watching the podcast regularly have just seen Muyol's hair continually, progressively grow longer and longer. It's been great. There it is for those of you watching live. As a bald man, I'm nowhere near jealous.
Well, I can see.
It's not something I'd be jealous about. It'd be like losing an FA Cup final at home. I mean, it's nothing to be upset about. Speaking of teams that lost FA Cup finals at home, Muyol, let's talk about Daegu FC.
Can I sign off now? Yes, so speaking of Daegu FC, so we finished 3rd in the league with 15 wins and 10 draw and 13 defeat, which is the record high finish in the club's history. But unfortunately had a tragic runner-up place in the FA Cup last year by losing some teams in the K-League 2, and which is very shame. But in terms of transfer business, I think we have very successful winter business. So we have Jung Seung-won, Hwang Sun-min, Park Han-bin, and Nishi Tsubasa all out.
Mm-hmm.
However, instead we brought in Hong Chul from Ulsan and Lee Tae-hee from Seongnam FC, and Keita Suzuki from the Montenegrin club, and goalkeeper Oh Seung-hoon from Jeju United, and Go Jae-hyun, who is the loanee to the Seoul Eland last season. He returned to Daegu, and we signed Iguno on a permanent deal. So I think we really just bolstered our squad by bringing the qualities that were really needed last season. And the difference maker for our team is it's just been cliche, but it has to be Sejinha again. So he's just not only the club legend but the league legend, and he's the most exciting player to watch on the pitch. And I'm sure just Ryan, you remember what he's capable of on the pitch in the FA Cup final, if you remember it.
Are you mistaking him with Oleg and that amazing left-footed shot to the? Are you forgetting?
Just our keeper was shit.
You know what? I actually, just so you remember, I put the winning goal in the intro for this year, so you get to hear it every week.
Okay, I will not listen to it then. So I think the predicted finish for Daegu FC is, I think I put them actually in 4th.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we are definitely able to compete for at least ACL place in the league. So I put them in the 4th.
Matthew?
5th for me.
Well, Clint's still watching. Thank you for watching live as well, Clint. Clint said that they're always number 1 for their mascots, and he did include the plural there. Finally giving Victo some love. We all love Rika, but Victo deserves a little bit of love. Not quite Rika love.
What do you have for us?
I have them in 7th. And I'll explain myself because, I already explained it a little bit because I think FC Seoul is going to find form this year. And there's another team that I think is going to find form unexpectedly. So we'll see. This middle pack is not. Yeah. Okay. I'm not super keen on any of these that I have so far, but those are the teams that we see fighting for Final A. Before we continue to go on for too long, we are going to take a really quick break, and then we're going to come back. We're going to talk about the teams that are going to be fighting it out for the AFC Champions League spots. And we say the title, but we know how it's going to go. We'll be right back.
FNR is a revolutionary football-dedicated digital platform, the first of its kind in Australia. It provides a 24/7 live online radio platform experience, podcast hub, and acts as a content provider for TV, radio, and digital. Having reached millions of listeners and football fans since launching, FNR is accessible worldwide via its website or app, providing a platform to discuss, debate, and celebrate the world game. We are your voice of football, FNR Football Nation Radio.
Welcome back to the K-League United podcast, the Marathon K-League United podcast. We're still going because we still have a few more K-League 1 teams to talk about. And then we got to bring Michael Redmond back for the mailbag. So we've got plenty of things coming up ahead. And to get this segment kicked off with the ACL and title contenders, you might not have thought this a couple of years ago, but we're talking about Suwon FC. That's right, a team that finished last year with 14 wins, 9 draws, and 15 losses for a 5th place finish, which was just narrowly missing out on what they thought might have been some ACL spots there. The transfer business, Han Seung-gyu is back with Jeonbuk. Technically, again, his career is something of a conundrum for me. He should have just stayed with FC Seoul. But anyway, he is out, and really there aren't a ton of noticeable exits other than that. There's some young man that I keep hearing much about, this Lee Sung-woo character. He's signed for Suwon FC. I think this is going to be an absolutely massive test for him to see how he'll do with the physicality of the league compared to his European upbringing. This is his first time playing here in Korea, so we'll see how he can hit the ground running. A lot of potential. He's always had a lot of potential. Not technically an incoming, but re-signing Murillo, I think, was absolutely massive considering how well he and Lars Veldijk played together last year. And that does lead into the difference maker. It's got to be Lars. Again, this is a man that bagged a division second best 18 last season, and he should do quite well again this year with Murillo back and Lee Sung-woo set to shine from the wing. So why do we put them here? Because 5th felt a little disappointing for how high this team could go and did go at times last year. And with mainly the same squad in place, they should be able to do even better this year, which is why I have them finishing one better. I have them finishing in 4th place. This is one of the teams that I think is going to be making a step up this year. I have them finishing 4th. Muyo, you look like you disagree.
Yes, I disagree. I put them in 6th.
Okay, 6th. They're still in Final A. Okay.
Yeah.
Matthew?
6 for me as well.
Okay. It's becoming very evident who writes the rundowns. Well, they're going to finish 4th. That's how it's going to go. All right, let's move on to a team that's hoping for the lofty heights of 4th place. Let's talk about the other Suwon team, and that's not how it's been in recent years when we talk about them, but let's talk about the other Suwon team. Let's talk about Suwon Samsung Blue Wings and their biggest cheerleader, Matthew.
Yeah, I don't know why I've suddenly have time to cover these a lot. But yes, they finished 6th last season, got into the top half. Good for them. And it was a bright start to last season for Suwon, and it saw them as early title contenders. In fact, the 3 of us did a podcast together about the title race, including Suwon Samsung Blue Wings. And yes, but injuries, lack of depth, they hampered the squad for a somewhat lackluster limp into they top half relevance. They got there. They were relevant in the end, sort of. But yeah, promising youngster and KLU Pod Season 5 intro star Jong Sang-bin has grabbed a lot of the headlines this window by moving to Wolves, albeit being loaned out immediately to Grasshopper Club Zurich after an eye-catching debut season. His move is a testament to Park Hang-seu's emphasis on youth, and with more coming through Suwon Blue Wings affiliated Maytan High School links, there's the chance of more breakout stars this year with Gu-min Sa in the class of 2022, and he's someone who can play all across the park, from centre back to up front. Last year, he was top scorer in the National High School League, and he's been given the number 99 shirt for the Blue Wings this season, which either means he's really far down the pecking order or likes a novelty shirt. I like to think the latter. However, the big moves have been in regards to Suwon's foreign contingent, picking up 2 proven K-League players in the shape of Ulsan's Dave Bultuis and former Suwon midfielder Sarich. That's Suwon Blue Wings midfielder Sarich. Yes, he's back. Also picked up Danish striker Sebastian Groning, who scored 29 in 47 games for his last club, the Danish side Viborg, which helped them with promotion. And these 3 replace Daniel Henry, Nicolau Dumitru, and Uros Jeric. The club also saw Kwon Chang-hun leave for Gimcheon, as mentioned previously, though it should be said they were doing all right without him for the first half of the season. It was the departure of Ko Sung-bom mid-season that really hurt them more. Bringing in Sarich will help here. That'll add some cover for the departed Ko. Difference maker. Well, last season, Suwon's MVP was perhaps Iki J, and the 30-year-old defender returned towards the end of last season after completing his national service with Gimpo Citizen. I've just been boring, and I've gone for him again. I feel that he played very well last season. I assume he's going to do it again here. Why do we put them here, though? Well, as mentioned, it's somewhat tailed off for Suwon Blue Wings last season, and finishing below their recently promoted neighbours Suwon FC. We should mention that again. But yes, that said, with improvements to the spine of the side and the youth talent that continues to be trusted by Park Hang-seu and developed, they are capable of going one step further this season. But having clearly done my predictions away from my actual notes, I've put them in 7th. I crowbarred Gimcheon in and everything got shuffled down, didn't it?
Okay.
That's what's happened there.
Okay. I mean, I'm going to disagree with you only slightly. I thought I had them higher in my rundown. They are the team that I think, and it's going to be close, they're the team I think is going to pip Daegu for the final spot in Final A. I have them finishing 6th.
I've got them in 5.
Oh.
Yeah, in 5th.
Okay.
In 5th, yep.
All right. Well, I don't know why Matt hates them so much. The well-renowned Suwon Blue Wings fan, Matthew Binns. Let's move on to a team that is hoping to make a return to ACL, a team that had a really good offseason. It's JG United. Last year, they finished with 13 wins, 15 draws, and 10 losses, and a 4th-place finish that just missed out on ACL due to some heroic team from the South winning the FA Cup. I don't know if I've mentioned that in this show yet, but the Jeonnam Dragons are defending FA Cup champions, and that's why Jeju wasn't able to get a playoff spot in this year's ACL contention in the playoffs there. Anyway, let's talk about those outgoing moves. Oh Sung-hoon has been lured to Daegu, thankfully for all of our ears. I think that means the end of Chae Young-eun in net for the Daegu Deer is going to be done shouting this year, we all hope. Anyway, they've also lost Kim Young-uk, who's back in K2 with Daejeon Hana Citizen. And in comes Kim Dong-jun. I thought this was an interesting move. He's back in K-League 1 after a couple of injury-plagued and not great seasons with Daejeon in the second division. He was an extremely expensive signing for Daejeon, so I think they just needed to move on in that regard. Chae Young-jun also joins from Jeonbuk. And most importantly here, ACL 2020 MVP and champion Yoon Bit Garam is back on the island, and he is the difference maker for me. I think that he's somebody that offers something in the midfield that they've just sorely lacked. He's a pace setter that is just truly lethal moving forward. He's extremely dangerous on set pieces, and he should link up very well with 2021 top scorer Ju Min Kyu. So that's going to be fun to watch. It's just going to be fun to watch. Why do we have them here? Well, and this is a big if in my opinion, if Kim Dong-jun can settle and keep things consistent at the back, then this is a side that will be very, very tough to beat, which is why I have them finishing in second place.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Muyol?
I have them in third.
Oh, okay. You're making me feel better.
Yeah, I think they can definitely take some advantages of the situation where Jeonbuk and Ulsan Daegu all have to play the AFC Champions League while they don't have any games. So they can just rest off and then just prepare for the games very well.
Yep. I mean, I agree. Matthew, where do you have them?
A sensible third, sadly. I did have him a second, and I've chickened out.
For shame. Who could we have in second and first coming up? Well, that's it for the K1 preview, so we're just going to move on to the mailbag, I wish. But before we can move on, let's talk about the two teams that we always talk about. Let's talk about the Hyundai teams in K-League 1. Let's get started with Ulsan Hyundai. Muyol?
Yes. So what happened in 2021 to Ulsan was another sad ending story. So they finished the runner-up in the table. So that is literally the third time in a row and their 10th league runner-up in the club's history. Whew. And the transfer business overall is not looking very successful, to be honest.
No.
Unfortunately, they have Kim Ji-hyun and Dave Bultois and Lee Dong-jun, Lee Dong-kyung, Hong Chul, and Oh Se-hoon out. Well, officially Oh Se-hoon is not out, but he's believed to move to Japan in a couple of days. So they have a lot of players leaving the club. And instead, they brought in some other names that might be familiar to the football fans in early 2010s, early 2010s, because I think apparently Hong Myung-bo just he bringing some of the familiar names with him.
Some guys that he played with.
Yes. Well, he brought in the Ikeda Seigo fitness coach, who he worked with together in 2012 London Olympics and the 2014 Brazil World Cup. And he also brought in Kim Young-kwon from Gamba Osaka and Park Ju-young, 2022 K-League comeback players from FC Seoul, and Amano Jun, the Japanese player from the Yokohama Marinos. And Ulsan also have Lee Gyu-sung and Kim Hyun-woo from Seongnam FC and Dynamo Zagreb. And the difference maker for them is, I think, Valery Kajaishvili, namely known as Vako in Korean. So the Georgian international, I think he was named in the league's best 11 last season, and he was so dangerous with his individual skills. And that, considering that was his first season in K-League, I think he will be doing better this season. And why put them here? I think still, despite the departures of South Korean international, I think they are still strong enough to compete for the ACL place and the title. And I think the question for them is the team cohesion, because a lot of players have left in the last minute, and also they also have some foreign players coming in, but apparently their just arrivals are being delayed, so they might struggle in the first stage of the league, but they will probably go up and finish maybe second again. I put them in the second, so
Okay.
Yeah.
Matthew?
Yeah, year of the Tiger Tears once more, second.
Okay. Yeah, I have them in third because I said that JG's going to finish second. And honestly, I could see it being fourth. That's just too much talent to lose. That is way too much talent to lose. I mean, I know that we said that last year, but then there was also the like, well, they've got these young guys that are coming in. They've got Lee Dong-jun making the move. They could be okay. And they were. You're going into this year thinking that Oh Se-hoon's going to be the guy to lead the charge. And to back him up, they brought in 0 goals last year, Park Chu-young. And now Oh Se-hoon is gone. Who's going to score goals for this team? Like, I feel like third is optimistic. I've also just been burned too many times by them. So we'll see. We are getting some agreement on Facebook. Thank you, James, who's saying that this is the worst Ulsan team in years. And I agree. Hopefully the worst version of a team in years that would open up the K-League 1 title race. Let's talk about Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors. Matthew.
Okay. Well, in 2021, new manager Kim Sang-sik managed to hold off the experience, wisdom, and evident transfer nous of Hong Myung-bo to ensure Jeonbuk oversaw another managerial transition with little effect on results on the pitch. In the end, Jeonbuk finished first, winning 22, drawing 10 and losing 6, scoring the most goals with 71 and conceding the fewest with 37. Defeat to Ulsan in the ACL, though, has meant their reputation as one of the more powerful sides in Asia is taking yet another dent and is an area they need to make strides in this campaign. In terms of transfer business, it's been relatively quiet for Jeonbuk. Well, relatively quiet compared to the last few seasons. Jeonbuk has always had a significant outbound to fund the rest of the window, but this season has seen few players leave, Chae Young-jun and Kim Min-hyuk being the most notable, while reserve goalkeeper Lee Bum-young has left so he could free up the dorm room for his brother Lee Bum-soo, a former Jeonbuk youth product apparently also, so he can replace him on the bench. They've also been very understated in their signings, picking up solid talent, mind, but from the K-League 2 in Anyang's Meng Sung-eun and Daejeon Hana Citizens Park Jin-sup, 2 very good signings, but yeah, not the signings you think Jeonbuk would be going for. Finally, loanees Han Sung-kyu, Lee Kun-ho and Jang Yun-ho have returned to prove themselves, while Kim Chon-sang-moo and national team striker Cho Kyu-sung returns in August. However, it should be said, Jeonbuk's focus has been on building their B team, with 16 under-22 players signing on to play in the K4 League under the tutelage of former Guangzhou and FC Seoul boss Park Jin-sup. It's their largest youth intake in 2 decades. And with players this season able to also freely move between these sides outside of the registration window, and also considering Jeonbuk's lack of under-22 players with experience, expect plenty of new names to make various cameos this season. Difference maker, well, I could say Hong Jong-ho because he was the MVP and he is a very influential captain at centre-back. However, after a season of rediscovering his talent, newly appointed vice-captain Paek Sung-ho heads into 2022 as a first-team regular in defensive midfielder for both Jeonbuk and the Korean national team, scoring twice from range while on duty for the Taeguk Warriors last month. Paek's upturn in form has his exclusion from the after his exclusion from the Olympics was one of several factors that helped Jeonbuk turn the tide in their favour last season. And with a younger midfield consisting of Song Min-kyu, Takehiro Kunimoto and Meng Sung-eun, if he gets in, expect Paek to be a central figure once more. So why did we put them here? Have you been listening for the last? Yeah, have you been listening for the last 5 seasons? They are the reigning champions, coming to this season off the back of a 5th title in a row and boasting an array of talent beyond the starting 11 and into the substitutes and reserves. With Ulsan essentially mishandling the transfer window also, they may even run less opposed than they have done for the previous 3 seasons. So predicted finish first, and that's just the B team. For seniors, a record extending 10th title and an unprecedented 6 in a row await.
Ugh. I hate it, but I think he's right. Muyol, you've obviously got them there as well. Yeah,
same to me.
You're running out of room for the stars. Like, you guys are going to have to just come up with one, like, massive star that goes over the crest. Anyway, let's end this segment the way we always end the K-League 1 preview segment by saying Jeonbuk's going to win the title again. We're going to take a really quick break. We're going to bring Michael back in, and we've got a pretty full Ulji Luis mailbag that we'll be somewhat quick with because, well, this pod's gone a little bit long. But again, if you're listening to the podcast, you won't really care because we've split it in two. If you're watching live, thanks for tuning in, and we'll be right back.
Ulji Luis is your neighborhood British bar and cafe located in the Old Giro district of Seoul. Decorated in old English antiques and furniture for a true homely feel, you can enjoy homemade scones, cakes and afternoon tea during the day, and traditional British favourites like beef stew, English ale, and a fine selection of wines at night. Available for private parties or simply an evening out, Ulji Luis is sure to become your favourite neighbourhood pub. Be sure to mention K-League United at the bar during your visit and you'll get 10% off your bill.
Welcome back to the K-League United podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Walters, joined for a very full mailbag by Michael Redmond, Jung Muyol, and leading the charge, it's Matthew Binns.
Yeah, straight into the LG Luis mailbag. Michael Baraf on Twitter. Who are the entertainers going to be in K-League 1 and K-League 2 this season? Who are the teams we should be tuning into every week? I'll start with K-League 2. Michael, who should we be watching?
Unfortunately, I'll say Daejeon. I think they're the team that's going to light up the league this year. Thinking of my heart, I think Seoul, obviously, again, because it's going to be a brand new squad, unpredictable. And then I'd also fire Gimpo in there for the factors we said earlier. We just don't know what's going to happen with that team this year. So I'll give you 3.
Muyol?
I'll say Anyang in K-League 2 and the Daegu FC in K-League 1.
No bias there.
Yeah.
Ryan, 1 and 2.
The best team to watch in K-League 2 is obviously the Jeonnam Dragons. Because
second.
I mean, I have to agree with Michael. I like Daejeon just built so well this winter. They're going to be a really, really good team, and I think they're going to be a lot of fun for neutrals.
Yeah, definitely.
I did miss you off the K1, Michael. Did you have a K-League 1 side?
I have a soft spot for how Suwon FC did last year, so let's put them again this year for having a good season.
I'll pip Michael's notes again. That's what you meant by 2 and 1. I thought you meant give 2 K-League 2 teams. I agree. I think Suwon FC is going to be really fun in K-League 1.
Yeah, I'd suggest Suwon FC. Certainly, they conceded a lot last season, but they also scored a lot. Very fun team. And K2, FC Anyang, I think, for me. Right. Speaking of Suwon FC, we've got Suwon FC fan on Twitter with a question. I always read that Shin Jae-won is a right back, but last year he almost always played as a striker. Where do you think he'll play this year? I prefer him as a striker, but it is true that this year we have many players for that position. Who would like to field this one? Otherwise, I'm going to start picking.
I saw him play a little bit with FC Seoul last year. I don't necessarily see him playing as an out-and-out striker for Suwon this year. I do think he could fit the attacking mid role pretty well. They've got Murillo to do that up the middle, but I think that he could be a good partner in the midfield there. Or, I mean, he could drop back and be a defender because we all know that Suwon FC does need help in defense. So he could be somebody that actually drops back and plays the position that he used to. I think FC Seoul has been so desperate for goals. They've been doing whatever they can to get people up there. I mean, again, Park Dong-jin was their leading scorer before he left for military service, and he was a right back for most of his career. Go Johan was another right back that they squeezed up as to a striker. So I think Shin Jae-won has a lot of versatility, and he could play in a couple of different positions for Suwon, but I don't necessarily see him playing up top. But hey, they've got that option if they need it.
Okay. We'll just move on. Simone Grassi on Twitter. Hi, guys. How long will Jong Dong-ho be out injured? Well, that is a great question, and it is one we will have an answer to on our Patreon page. Isn't that right, Muyol?
Yes, it is. And we will just do our best to publish the injury news every Thursday if it's right.
Yeah, we'll be posting that on there at the $5 tier for anyone there. But we'll look out to patreon.com/ /K-League United for all the latest injury news. Next in our question, Hosu on Instagram stories. Can Ulsan fight John Buck last season, even though they lost top quality players? I think we've kind of touched on this. We've heard Ryan's, we've heard Muriel's opinion. We've definitely heard mine. Michael, I'll leave this one to you.
I unfortunately don't think it's the case. I've got my money on Jeju kind of giving John Buck any kind of a title fight this year. I just think you said it before, guys. I was listening to you. They've let too many players go in the off season and haven't really brought something substantial in, really. No, simple answer, no.
Okay, we've heard it there. Unanimous across the board. John Buck Hyundai fan account on Twitter. Park Jin-sup and Min Sung-eun both coming to John Buck from K-League 2. He's heard good things about them, but how do we think they'll settle at a title-challenging team in K-League 1? Do you think that Kim Sang-sik will sacrifice someone like Lee Seung-gi's playing time for them? I'll take this one. Yes. I think Lee Seung-gi is still a quality central midfielder, but as I've put out there on Twitter, John Buck technically have 9 central midfielders this season. So I think any central midfielder on the wrong side of 30, and that's unfortunately most of us here, I think. Well, no, 2 of us certainly. Right, but yeah, I think they're going to start seeing players. I mean, Kim Bo-kyung got the top assist last season, but he was primarily used as a substitute. So we're seeing this younger core coming through. Putting Baek Sang-ho as vice captain is a sign of things to come. I also think with Park Jin-sup in particular, he is a defensive midfielder, but we could see him fielded as a defender, especially as
good point.
Kim Min-hyuk has gone to Songnam, and John Buck is still yet to bring in any real replacement for him. So I could see him potentially being utilised at centre back as well as central midfield. Okay. Final question.
Before we get to the final one, we did have one come in on YouTube.
Oh, okay. Well, John Young Jun Masterclass to lead John Nam to promotion. Ryan.
Yeah.
Next question. All right, final question, because we have gone on a little bit long today, but please do keep them coming in and we will do our best to answer them as when we can, or they'll be on next week's podcast. This last one is James McCann on Instagram stories. Who do you think is more likely to drop out of the top 4? Ulsan having let a bunch of key players leave, or Daegu with their inability to see games off, i.e. the cup final? Apparently it was a small game that was played.
I didn't write that question. I mean, both. But Michael, what do you think? I've had my say on these teams. What do you think?
I generally think if there was a season for Daegu to pip Ulsan and overtake them in the league standings, it would be this year. Good point made about Daegu not being able to finish games off. I actually watched a couple of Daegu games live last year, and they're an interesting group. They play great, entertaining football, but as he said, can't really finish a game off when the pressure's on them as such. So, as you said, though, we know what's going on with Ulsan this year. I think they might squeeze in against them.
Well, I think we'll be okay. Just we have a new manager, and it's a new season, so we'll start from scratch.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. Okay, because we've all given our predictions as well for the table, so we played our hand really on where we think
that's true.
We see these teams playing out. So that wraps up the mailbag for this week. Ryan.
That's right. And we will put out, I will be putting out my foolish prediction on social this week so everybody can see and laugh at them. And we'll be linking that back to the previews that are on kleague.com right now, the team by team previews that we got going on there. And if you want to get more involved, well, we've got a new look for Patreon this year. And we've dropped the prices across the board because, you know what, the more the merrier. We just want more people involved this year. And we are delighted to have quite a few more involved this year. And we have so many folks that have joined since the last live podcast. Paul and Matthew have been carrying the load this off season, but those were pre-recorded. So we have a lot of people to thank that have signed up. We're not going to be able to get to all of them this week. I gave myself the names this time. All right. Adrian, Augustine, Darren Sage, Martin New, Kippen Marin, Dexgo, Robin Friday, Yaya. I love that somebody, I hope that's your actual name, Yaya. That's amazing. Emmanuel Denise, Charco 1904, and Matthew Lay. Thank you to all of you for joining our Patreon. And there will be more folks that we will join, that we will thank next week. Again, we couldn't get to absolutely everybody today. Those folks maybe have joined at the K3 Champions tier, which is just $1 a month. That gets you into the community where we have discussions, everything else. Podcast rundowns are put up there early. Most importantly, however, K-League Survivor is back. That's right. Each week, if you have $1 to spare per month, then you can go ahead and throw that towards the K-League Survivor competition, in which you and all of us just try to pick a team in K-League 1 and K-League 2 that won't lose. It's a lot harder than it seems. It's a lot of fun. We all enjoy it throughout the year, so you can do that at just $1. But if you want to get involved at the higher tiers, Matthew, there's a little bit more going on there.
Yeah, this season at the K2 Champion tier, that's $3 a month. We are now putting all long read articles, monthly stat pieces, pod extras that includes additional episodes, exclusive access, and extended and uncut player interviews. Also includes behind the scene videos, team sheets from the press box, and more. That's all at $3 a month. And we have a K1 Champion tier at $5 this year, and this includes week by week injury news from Muyol, who is here, and Doan as well, who is our Busan writer. And this includes injury news and team notes for all 12 K-League 1 teams every Thursday. Also, you get access to an exclusive weekly question and answer thread, which we answer throughout the week. And you can also request which stats we dive into in our future written posts.
That's right. And if you'd like to listen to this podcast live, you can do so most of the time, not weekly on FNR Football Nation Radio down in Australia, because we're switching things up a little bit this year with FNR. We will still have the podcast each week, but instead of it playing weekly on FNR, we are going to be guesting on a lot of their shows a little bit more frequently this year. So furthering our partnership with FNR, going to be talking a lot about ACL, hopefully on the ground in Bangkok for some of us, if we're lucky. We'll see. Who knows? But we are going to be talking a lot more about the international game on FNR this year. So that'll be a lot of us guesting throughout the month. And of course, K-League United podcast will still play on those airwaves down there. So give it a listen live if you would like to. And if you do enjoy the podcast, do please subscribe via iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, or wherever you download your podcast, and leave a review. 5 stars preferred, and we're out of kits. So we'll think of something else to give you, because we don't have any of those left. So thanks for the folks that signed up in the past. But for now, for Jung Muyol, Matthew Binns, and the now world famous Michael Redmond, I'm Ryan Walters. Thanks so much for watching.
정조선 고공 폭격기 김신우